Hello everyone. How is everyone doing today? I could see a lot of people joining in. We'll give a little bit more time and then hopefully more people would be joining in. So let us know what was your weekend looking like? What are you planning for Sunday? Anything specific? Anything personal? Anything educational? Or anything fun? Let us know how your Sunday is looking like. I'll tell you my story first. I'm moving to another place. I'm shifting house because my son would be going to university. So my Sunday would be looking more packing and then just wrapping things up. So yeah, I'm doing a lot of packing as of now. How about you, Jamila? How your Sunday is going to look?
Good morning, everyone. Welcome to our Twitch channel, and thank you for joining us on Saturday. Um, my weekend looks like promising. So I promised my family to bake our favorite cake, which my
Wow.
husband still doesn't believe. He is like, last time you baked it a couple of years ago, so until I see it literally on the table, I will not believe and I will not be happy. So I took
You will prove him wrong, I'm sure. You will prove him wrong.
exactly, like until they see it on the table and eat it with
Yeah,
a cup of
that
tea,
is
they will
good.
not. Yeah, so it's a huge responsibility. Actually, it's all very serious.
Thank you. Nice. I'm seeing a lot of people saying Diwali preparation. So people who do not know about India, there is a new festival, not new, but uh, a very important festival for Indians, Diwali. Probably most of you know about it, and yeah, a lot of preparation, and that require a lot of cleaning, cooking, and then lots of new dresses. So yeah, it's a festival time in India. Hopefully, everyone would enjoy. Good afternoon from London. How about you, Prasad? How is your weekend looking? What is your plan for Sunday?
Uh, Diwali preparations. That's why I'm here in
Yeah,
India,
that's
right?
nice. Yeah, you are
So you
enjoying your
summarized
time.
it well. You know, yeah, need to go to buy some what we call as humor, right? Lightings, right?
The candles and
Exactly.
all. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Yeah, that's interesting thing. Yeah, good. Now I'll tell you funny story that my father is obsessed with this lighting, and
Okay.
then when there was Diwali festival, it would start 20 days before that he would start putting all these things. And as a kid, I didn't wanted to spend time on that, but obviously I was forced to. And now if I realize myself that I am still doing the same, like I am now on his role that I want to put lot of lighting for Diwali. So yeah, things repeat. That's how I would say it. So yeah, it's a good thing. All right. Thank you everyone for joining. Interesting week today. We will talk about lots of interesting stuff. Let me quickly walk you through what the agenda looks like, and then we will discuss more interesting stuff as we move forward. So today James is not with us. James is busy with his personal stuff. So I would be more spending time with you. I would be covering around 60 minutes of technical track. I'll talk about Global Accelerator, very interesting service. And then I would be talking about containers demo because we could not cover it last time because of time constraint. So let me squeeze this demo in and I'll talk about how those container topics work, and we will see lots and lots of interesting stuff in that. And then we will follow by behavioral track by Jamila and Prasad. That would be on why it is important to ask questions during interview. Now you may think it's a small thing that hey, maybe I should ask some very basic question or maybe monotone question, but I would say that is a very interesting and important topic to be aware, and we would get more insight on. And I appreciate everyone taking time on Saturdays to join us and reaching out to us on LinkedIn, sharing things about BeSA program. So keep doing it. We want to help as many as we can. We are individually mentoring a lot of people, and if you have any interviews lined up, or if you have any suggestion which we could help you with, feel free to reach out. Don't be shy. Sometimes people are shy that hey, why I should reach out, or maybe they are busy. Yes, we are, but we are more than willing to help you out. So feel free to reach out, and we would be more than happy to accommodate your request. Just in case we forgot to respond back, don't feel bad. Just respond back, and we would be then picking it up. You could reach out on LinkedIn. You could reach out on emails. Feel free, whatever works for you, go for that. Okay, thanks everyone. So I'll stop cameras, and then we will discuss about the interesting stuff related to how your technical track looks like today, what is Global Accelerator, and why I would be using a thing like Global Accelerator. Let me talk about that. Okay, keep your questions coming. Prasad and Jamila are answering questions, so we would be happy to answer questions. And questions make it interesting. Make sure you ask questions. I am also monitoring the chat, and I will also be picking up the question from chat in case you do not, in case you have any questions, feel free to put them. Okay, now let me talk about first the why part of it. I am always interested in the why of technology, not on what of technology. What of technology is that, hey, how to configure it, what are the settings available, which option to select. But before that comes that why you actually need a solution like that, what is the business or technical problem you are trying to solve, and that's what I'm going to talk today. Let's consider a common workload in AWS. You decided you want to host an application. Let's consider for simplicity that let's say this is a EC2 machine which you want to host all over the globe. There are multiple ways where you could, multiple location or regions where you could host it. But let's say you decided to host it into US East 1. Now, when I open this app to public, then obviously what I would be needing a friendly name for it. So let's say I take a name myapp.com just for simplicity, and I would be needing a public IP so that public could access my application, and myapp.com 2222 is live, and now we want to access it from different places. So obviously if my app is popular, I would have people coming in. Some people would be coming from one part of the world, another would be from other part of the world, and obviously as it is physically hosted into US East 1, then there would be some latency issues for different type of people. So maybe people, if they're accessing it from Canada or US, they won't see a lot of latency. Other people from EU, maybe not that much. But if you are accessing it from far end of the world, you may start seeing a lot of latency in our application, and we want to solve this particular problem. So a common workload, when you are accessing it over internet, over different networks, then there would always be some latency issues. So that is the one common thing which always happens, and we want to solve that problem. Let's see what we mean and how we can solve this particular problem. So the service AWS offers for that is called AWS Global Accelerator. As the name says, it's a global service, and it allows you to host your application in a way that multiple users all over the world should be able to access it without having a lot of complicated things in your environment. So that is called Global Accelerator. We will discuss lots of things about that. So what is a Global Accelerator actually? Global Accelerator is a network layer service that you can deploy in front of your internet facing application. So it's a front ending service. It helps you with two things. One is availability, and second is performance. So availability and performance for your globally distributed user, that's what Global Accelerator is allowing you to do. It has lots of features. This is common thing which will be driven by it, but it can have other things also, like hey, it can give you the continuous availability to avoid DNS caching issues. So I will talk about that, how it is different from CloudFront that is coming. Don't worry on that. I'll explain that. It avoid DNS caching issues, simplified traffic management, anycast IP address, easy to set up and manage. And that is the best part of it. When you realize that you have to set up a global network of computers, it is very complicated. It's not that easy to get started. But Global Accelerator makes it wizard driven. Maybe in 10-15 minutes you could create an application which will be globally available and highly resilient, highly available. So that is much easier. Now, is there a benefit to customers when they start using Global Accelerator? Answer is yes. We publish a speed comparison, and what someone could do, go to this URL and then access this so that you could go ahead and find out like, hey, what is the actual difference I may be getting once I start using Global Accelerator as a service. So we are doing a speed comparison here. Let's see if I'm using Global Accelerator and I'm trying to have a file of 100 KB loaded. Let's see how much would be the benefit coming from it. So it would try to compare a direct over internet traffic to different regions, and then will tell you that if you do this thing on Global Accelerator, what would be the performance benefit. So let it run for a while because it takes little time to run this. See this thing here. So if I'm uploading a file directly to Oregon, It may take 1034 millisecond, but if I leverage global accelerator for you from my current location, that would be only done in 631, almost of half of the speed. As you could see, that it could give some benefit. Now, obviously, if I am uploading into Ireland, that my speed is 210 millisecond time duration. With global accelerator, it is still smaller, but the difference is not that significant. But if you're looking at other locations like Tokyo, or I am looking for Frankfurt, or I am looking to Singapore, you could see clearly there is a huge difference between the latency which you could observe. So this is a nice place where you could check about global accelerator performance benefit you may get because of this. So that's how we should be able to get started. Let me put this thing into chat, and then hopefully everyone would have this link to check on their own. Okay. Now, that's not important. Important is how we set it up and why we use it. So let me start with that. Let's see how our traffic looks before and after global accelerator. This is a busy slide, so pay attention and ask questions if you have any doubts on that. Before global accelerator, let's say we have hosted our application in US East 1, and that is 2222. Now my users start accessing this over internet, right? So what is happening? Use case I already explained about that, Saurabh, that it is availability and performance. If you want to improve your availability and performance for application, that time you would be using global accelerator, right? So my application is open to business and user would start accessing internet. Now internet, we may seem think like it is one single network, but actually it is made up of multiple different network altogether. These all component are putting together by different ISPs. Let's say if I am connecting to internet right now, I am utilizing a British telecom connection, and then maybe to reach to different location, it is using different service provider. If you are connecting from India, maybe to reach up to Twitch, you have different network coming in, and these all service providers work together to make your traffic reach to a destination from a source. So that's how it works, right? The benefit here is that request is routed across different network before it reaches to my application. Now think of, you are taking a flight which is direct flight, and think of a flight which goes from one to city to another city, then you deboard, go to another flight, then you board another flight, then you board another flight, and then you reach to destination. That is the same thing happens when your traffic goes over internet. Then when a response comes, it's not expected that response will also follow the exact same path on which your traffic was sent. So it may follow a different path, and obviously because of all these, there may be a lot of delays which may be happening because of these internal or in different network coming into picture. So that's where the global accelerator can help. This is a situation before a global accelerator is working. So let's see what is actually happening in this case. When you have a global accelerator, your app would still be the same, but if you look here, we would have a new IP address assigned to it. That what we are referencing here as a 3.1.1.1. I'll explain what that global accelerator IP address is, but that would be a new IP associated to your app. Now, what would happen? That you would decide on using a global accelerator, and that service runs from edge location. This IP which is given to you is called a anycast IP. Don't worry if you do not understand Anycast, I'll talk about that. Now, when your user want to access the application, this IP is being advertised by Global Accelerator, and that is being running from an edge location. So what would happen now? Your request would be not traveling through multiple ISP. You may use your local ISP up to connecting to only the edge network where the global accelerator endpoint is. And once it reaches to that endpoint, then it would be riding on the direct network of AWS, which is a global network powered by AWS, and it would be then reaching to your Anycast IP addresses, right? So benefit here is I am not taking multiple flights. I am taking one flight, let's say from a city into UK, let's say from Liverpool, I take a flight to Heathrow, and from Heathrow, I have a direct flight to go to US or Asia or any other places. So that is what is actually happening now. So after Global Accelerator, your packets won't be going through different hops. It would be hopping into a edge location, and from there, a request would be delivered to application. And when a response comes, again, it would be delivered over our AWS global network. So it would be much faster for you, and that is how you would benefit that, right? So is this function of external router gateway protocol? Answer is no, it is not that thing. That protocol is about routers when they communicate. It has nothing to do with global accelerator. So user and a GA are in the same region? Not exactly. I'll explain that in a minute. I'll explain that. Another question from Fola was, what is the difference between Global Accelerator and CloudFront? I said I would be talking about it. So just hold on. We will discuss about those things in a minute. Right. So hope you get the idea that what benefit we will be getting. We would be leveraging the global network of AWS. So let's see how actually it works. We have Global Accelerator use a different type of IP that is called Anycast address. Unicast, Anycast, broadcast, these are the common ways network devices communicate. When you are making a call to one individual person, you are calling on him or her on phone. That is a one-to-one communication that we call a unicast. If you go to a park and somebody is announcing something, or you go to a railway station or a airport and then somebody is announcing a flight detail, that is a broadcast. Everyone is listening to it. Whether you want it or not, everyone would get that. That is a broadcast. Or you may have a WhatsApp group and then you send message. You may have multiple members in WhatsApp group. That's fine. In your database, you may have 100 of end users, sorry, WhatsApp user, but you formed a group of only 3 or 4 people and you are communicating with them. That is called a multicast IP address. So multicast is a one-to-many communication. And what Anycast is one to nearest. The best example to understand Anycast would be, let's say you have to withdraw money from an ATM. Now, probably what you would think, where is the nearest ATM? And then you would be actually going ahead. Thanks for catching that. I haven't noticed it. Yeah, it is a broadcast. I have to change that spelling. Thanks for catching it. Good, you are paying attention. Anycast is the near one to nearest. Like if you need to withdraw money, I may not be going 10 miles for an ATM. Whatever ATM comes near to me, I would pick it up from there. Maybe I would be still selective that, hey, I operate in Barclays and I want to only withdraw money from Barclays. Otherwise, there would be charges associated. So I may look for Barclay ATM apart from everyone, but there would not be a very specific ATM. Whoever is near to me, I would go to that and get my risk request served from there. Same way, Anycast requests are routed to nearest member of Anycast group, and that's how you get your application sorted. So that's how Anycast works. Right, right. Now, what happens if you deploy a multi-region application? Let's say we are expanding globally and we want to ensure that we operate our applications all over the globe. So we hosted one application into US East 1. Another, I'm saying another is the instance of the application. Maybe it is the same application which I hosted in EU West 1, but obviously if my geography is changing, I would have different IP addresses, like 2222 is US East 1, EU West 1 is 3333, and maybe AP South 1, which is Mumbai, would be 4444, right? And I open this application to my user. So what happens here? myapp.com get different IP address into each region. And due to Route 53, because it can detect where the users are coming from, your users would be redirected to nearby locations. So let's say I have users coming from Canada or South America. They would be redirected to US East 1 because it is near to them. And what they would do means indirectly, the browser would cache that IP address of myapp.com, which is 2222. Every browser caches these IP addresses. Every system caches these DNS addresses so that we do not have to keep on resolving them again and again. Similarly, my users into Eastern Europe and Americas, or sorry, Africa, would come to my EU West 1 location, and similarly, user in Asia would be redirected to AP South 1. So this is what a traditional way of working of application is, and at every end, IP address of my app would be cached, which will depend on different to different service provider and which location I am connecting to. All right. Hope this thing is clear. There is no complication here. It is a very easy to understand that we have DNS redirecting us to nearby location, and that data is being cached into my environment here, as we see here. Right. Now, let's consider. In this case, my intention is to ensure high availability of my environment. Currently, I am not operating with a global accelerator. If you read this thing, a multi-region application without global accelerator. Now, what happens if a region fails? Let's say due to whatever problem a region fails. I am saying highest problem of region failure. It could be that only your application has failed into US East 1 due to some reason, whatever the problem was. Now, Local DNS cache for this user is 2222, so they would keep on asking question to 2222 and it would never respond because it has failed. So until the DNS cache is cleared or that expires, client will keep trying to 2222. If I check with other user in other part of the world, they would say my application is working, but user into America and Canada would have problem in accessing my application. Either they have to manually change their DNS setting or flush the cache, and then only they could access my application, right? So that's how you would be able to get started on that. Then what could happen? Let's see that. Here, what I could do if I have a new user. So let's say I am a new user here into South America. I haven't got any cache. So I would go to Route 53 and say, Route 53, I want to talk to myapp.com. Can you give me an IP address? Route 53 has entry for this, entry for this, entry for this. And as it is unhealthy, it won't respond with the IP address of 2222. It would say, hey, looks like the healthy nearest app is 3333. So please go and talk to 3333. So my new user won't have any problem in accessing the app because they would be redirected to the healthy copy of my instance, but others would be still going to the bad copy of my instance. Hope this thing is clear. So this is how my region failure could impact some of my user and they may not be able to access the application, right? Okay. Now, what can we do to mitigate that? Do we have to use multiple public IP and we have to pay for every public IP? We use global accelerator. Answer is no, Santosh. It depends on how you design your application. That part is coming. I'll explain about that. Now, what happens once you start using global accelerator? So pay attention now. I am talking about a multi-region application with global accelerator. The benefit of global accelerator is wherever you deploy your application, you would be getting the same IP address. So whether you deployed it on US East 1 or EU West 1 or AP South 1, you got this IP, let's say 55555. So it is automatically the same at all the places. And now your user don't directly access application. Their request goes to their nearby edge location. And then once they are on edge location, afterward, it travels on AWS backbone, and that's how the traffic is served from those users. So your users always see the same IP address and they get traffic served from nearby edge location. They don't have to send request all over way to the application. Hopefully this thing is clear. So that is what global accelerator is doing. All my users traffic would be served from nearby edge location and they would have no problem in accessing these things. That's not at all an issue. So hopefully this thing is clear to everyone. Now, what would be the status of the cache? In cache, every user from whatever part of the world they are accessing the application, they would have 5.5.5 inside their cache, so they would be utilizing that. Will this be a static IP or elastic IP? Can we map this to Route 53 against domain name? Yes, you can. No problem at all on that. That you could take this IP and then map it into your DNS. Route 53 should not be a problem. Will this redirection happen only when routing policy selected is failover routing policy for others too? Parna, in that case, I haven't selected failover policy. I selected the nearby policy, which is proximity. So whoever the request is coming from geo proximity policy, so request comes from US, send it to US, then if it not. So what happens if it fails? What do you mean by what happens if it fails? Maybe you will have to elaborate it. A single region application deployment with global accelerator is direct, but for public and user service running on AWS. Yeah, exactly. 5.5.5 fails. We have a mechanism for that. I'm going to talk about that. Right. So what going to happen? Every user in all part of the world would cache 5.5.5 as an IP address. They would have no problem in accessing that application. Now let's try to consider some failure scenarios that what component could fail. Now, what could happen that maybe a edge location fails? That is possible, right? Maybe this was my edge location from my users are accessing the traffic, and maybe due to whatever circumstances, power outages, flood, volcano, earthquake, whatever, edge location actually fails. So when a edge location fails, what happens? My cache is still 5.5.5, right? So in this case, Edge location failure, client will be redirected to another edge location. Why? Because this 5.5.5 is not only advertised by this edge, client would identify that, hey, this edge is failed, and then it would be automatically going to this particular location. And now my request will be served by another edge location, whoever is nearby. So my user in South America would be served by edge location into US, and they would still be able to access application. They do not need to do anything with their cache still remains the same, and they are able to access the application. So edge failure won't bring down your application. That's what I wanted to clarify. Your users would still be able to access your application coming from here. All right. What if the region fails? Let's see that. So if a region fails, maybe let's consider that there was a problem in US East 1, or my application in US East 1 failed. What is going to happen now? We would detect it. Global Accelerator would perform health check and will detect that, hey, US East 1 has failed. And what it would do, it would stop sending requests to US East 1, and all your user requests would be forwarded to the nearby location from where the healthy traffic can be delivered to your application. So it would automatically take care of that. So whether a region fails, or whether a cache location fails, it won't have any impact at all on your application. So that would be happening automatically. Is the redirection to a nearest edge location is managed by Route 53? Yes, it would be. So you would need Route 53, you would need Global Accelerator, and when you see this, you would see much better idea, or have a better idea on how all these things work. Now, what I'm going to do, I'm going to set up a very small application in 3 different regions, and I'll walk you through the process of how this thing is set up and what component would be there so that you could get started on that. So what I'm going to do, I'm hosting 3 applications. I am pretending that I have a EC2 machine which would be in different region, and they would be representing my application, right? So I want to deploy 3 EC2 machine in 3 different region, and then front end it by one single IP address, and then we will see how it actually works. So I am going to select one region here is Ireland, another one I would select will be US, another one I would be selecting as India. So I am hosting it on EC2, but you could have hosted it on an application load balancer also. That is not at all a problem. I'm keeping things as simple as possible as of now. So let's go ahead and host something into EC2 environment. Now, how I would know which application is responding? In real life, all the data in every application would be same. But here I want to identify who actually responds to me. And for that, what I'm going to do, I'm going to push into it a small user data script. This user data script is basically creating a small web page, and through this web page, it would display the region where my application is running, and it would also display the availability zone or IP address of that application. So this is just a informational data which I am going to push inside. This is my metadata file, and I would be going ahead and using this file as a user data script into my application. Sorry for moving around. Give me a minute. Let me copy the script information, and then we will get started. So I'll copy the script. I will share the script with you. Don't worry on that. So I am in Ireland. I do not have any instances running. Let me go ahead and launch a EC2 instance. I'm keeping it as simple as possible, hosting just a web server on it, not a complicated thing. And then similarly, you could go ahead and deploy that. So let me call it Ireland web server. Yep, it should be coming up. So this is my Ireland web server. I'm selecting Linux operating system. T2.micro machine is so good for me. A network, I am keeping it into default. I am allowing HTTP so that I could access it over a web page or a browser. So I am saying, hey, yes, I want to allow HTTP traffic here. And in my advanced detail, I am pushing that user data script so that it would be hosting a web page and will get started from there. It is not just doing complicated thing. It is creating index.html and publishing IP address information and availability zone of my app. That's all is happening. I'm happy with one instance only, and let me launch instance. I have to select a key pair. I do not need a key pair probably. I do not need to log in here. And I would say go ahead and launch an instance. So one instance in Ireland, which I have started launching. Let me go ahead and launch one more instance. let's say into Northern Virginia, and then I would prefer to launch one more instance, let's say into Mumbai. And we will see then which instance responds to you and from where your traffic is delivered back to you. So same thing, I am hosting similar instances in three different locations. You may have selected 10, 1 or 2. It is purely up to you how many instances you want to launch, or do you want to launch individual instances, or do you want to have a load balancer backed instances. It is purely your decision to get started. Okay. While this is happening, let me check if there are any questions. Is there a redirection to a new nearest edge location is managed by Route 53? Answer is yes on that. Nothing impossible. Okay, thank you. Thanks for responding. Okay, let's see that. What are the things now? When we show demo, things always are slow, isn't it? So that's what is happening here. And let's see what that. Which one is better, having ALB? It depends. See, these type of question will never get one or two answer. I would say it depends on what your use case is,
Hello.
Revati Joshi.
I'm
So you
just
will
thinking
depend
how
on.
to mute Ashish. No, I cannot mute his mic.
uh, Prasad, are you saying something? Give me a minute, guys.
Sorry, Ashish. No.
Okay, sorry. Yeah, maybe I'm not sure. Do you need help with mute or something?
No, it's good. Sorry.
Good. Okay, no worries. Okay, so this is one other instance I am launching into NV. I am calling it a North Virginia web server, and from there we would be hosting our application. Right. So NV Web, this is same thing, key pair. I am not interested to have a key pair on that. And then we would be hosting it in the same way. We would be hosting a user data script, and through this user data script, this will become a web server, and make me select the uh, open port for this so that I could access it over web. So I'm allowing HTTP traffic for my access. So this is a web server which is being launched into Northern Virginia. All right. Let it launch. Till that time, let's go to Mumbai and we would utilize it. In order to use GA, do we need to use Route 53, or well, do they work in tandem? No, it's not mandatory to use Route 53. You may use it because the name which we will be giving you through Global Accelerator would be a very lengthy name. It may not be a very user-friendly name. So probably you would use a Route 53 or any other DNS provider. It doesn't matter, but you need a friendly name for your application rather than a very lengthy name. So DNS is better to use, but not mandatory, right? And let me call it Mumbai Web. This is the third server I am deploying. Okay. So this is my Mumbai Web. And then I would be going ahead, setting up of some of the settings on this. I would be selecting an existing security group. If you see here, I would say allow HTTP traffic from internet, that is good. And then in advanced detail, I would again go ahead and push this information into my user data script so that it would be ready. And I may still have to select the key pair, which I am not interested as of now. So I would say proceed without key pair. So what happened now? I have three instances and they are running into different AWS region. And as expected, they would all have got a public IP on that region. So let's see this. This instance has been launched in Ireland. Let me check its management console and see the IP address. I will note it down so that we could refer it afterwards. Okay, let it come. Let me open another instance also. My browser is very slow today. Yeah, but let's see. Okay, this is another instance which has been launched. I will note down all the IP addresses so that I should be able to identify them and access it. I would put those IPs into your chat details here, and you can also open them into browser and see that who is actually responding, because there are three different IP. Whoever you talk to, they would respond with a very specific page which will tell from which specific region they are serving the traffic. So that is hopefully is coming up. Okay, bear with me till it renders the page. It's very slow today, still rendering. Okay. So one instance Ireland web is ready. This is my public IP address associated with that 5252 something. Let me note it down. I would say, hey Ireland, you have this IP addresses. Let me check if it is working as a web server or not. I'm verifying health of my application and it says I am working fine. I am 52 and I am running from EU West 1A. That is an indication that this one is a region Ireland who is responding to me because I talked to only that. Let's see what other instances are responding to me, and then we would utilize them as we move forward. ALB and GA, they have different purposes. ALB is doing distribution within a region. GA is global service. ALB is a regional service, right? ALB would take care of your HTTP request only. Here, Global Accelerator can take care of your TCP and UDP request both. So both can work here. So we'll see that. Right now, probably we may not have time for the container demo, but let's see how much we progress on that. This instance is still getting up here. This is another instance, and this instance, which is in Northern Virginia, let's see what was the IP address on that. If you could see, this is a public IP address into Northern Virginia, and if I open it, it should respond to me with its detail that what I am. It is US East 1C and it is responding. Let me note down this too. So Northern Virginia has this particular IP address, obviously a different IP address here. Let's go to the last one, Mumbai region, and then we would host a global accelerator in front of these services and we'll see how these services respond to me, right? Any questions so far? Anything which is not clear, let me know. I would be happy to answer those questions. Okay, one more minute. Can we use WAF with GA? Not directly. You can through load balancer, but not directly with your global accelerator because it is a forwarding mechanism. It is a network layer service. So it won't support your WAF. But what you could do that your load balancer can have WAF in front of it and global accelerator can still forward traffic to it. So that is possible, but not directly. What is cost? Check the pricing page. You pay till the time accelerator remains active, and you also pay for the number of traffic going through that. So you pay for active hours and you pay for the price. This is my Mumbai app, and the Mumbai app is running on 13 IP addresses. Let me check if this is working or not. That will be displaying me the web page if everything is working fine. If not, I may not see the web page. And then first I'll troubleshoot it and then I'll move forward. So I'm trying to see 13 something and it is running fine. AP South 1. Good, right. Now let's move forward, and now let's go ahead and talk about the service called Global Accelerator. Let's go to Global Accelerator here. See, it says improve your application's availability and performance. That's what we are trying to do. Availability, if one region goes down, I would still serve my application. Performance is bad, I could still augment it by delivering it from edge location. So that would be much easier for me to get started. I am working on Global Accelerator now. We would deploy it. Now, there was a question initially that what happens if that IP I showed you in the picture 5.5.5 it fails? We take care of that. Whenever you deploy a global accelerator, we give you two IP addresses. So even if one of them IP fails, the second IP would still be there and it would still serve traffic for you. So we take care of redundancy for you. I am creating a global accelerator here. I have to go through very basic steps, which are 4 steps, and I would be ready. Let me call it my global accelerator 01. I am creating a standard one here. I want to route IPv4 best traffic. Other pool selection, another thing I'm not interested as of now. And now, like a load balancer has a listener, also I have to tell, hey, global accelerator, please listen on particular traffic and based on that forward my request to it. Now, if you see here UDP and TCP, there was a question that what is the difference between CloudFront and global accelerator? CloudFront is a cache for web content. Global Accelerator is a network layer service. So it understands only TCP and UDP traffic. It doesn't understand your cached content, right? It is a forwarder. It is a path on which your packet would travel, whereas CloudFront is a caching service which caches the data. In Global Accelerator, there is no cache. It is just a forwarding mechanism, right? So hopefully this thing is clear. CloudFront focuses on HTTP content. This one focuses on TCP and UDP content. So I am adding one listener. Same accelerator can have multiple listeners also, but I am keeping it simple. And now I am saying which region my application is running on, and I would host it there. So first region I am going to use is US East 1, North Virginia. I would configure a health check for my application there. What I want to perform, I want to verify if HTTP page is running fine or not. If it is not running fine, I would call that application unhealthy because I am serving a web page and that HTTP page should always be running. For demo purpose, I am setting its fail interval to health check should be performed every 10 seconds. And even if one health check fails, please call that as unhealthy instance. In real life, you may be having a different approach for your application, but here for demo, I am keeping it as short as possible. Minimum is 10 and minimum threshold is 1. What I have done, I have added one endpoint which is in US East 1, right? I would add another endpoint group. This endpoint group, I would be selecting it from EU West 1, which is my Ireland region. See this? And again, here also, I am setting up configuration of checking HTTP health check on that. I want to verify the just the main web page. I want to call it out failed after 10 seconds only. And then I am adding another one here, which is going to be AP South 1, which is going to be Mumbai region. Now, what is this value which is called traffic dial? I'll talk about that in little time, but let's go ahead and deploy this thing. I'm again performing a HTTP check and then calling it failed if it doesn't respond to me within 10 seconds. When GA uses UDP, Jayashri, question is rise when you have an application. Let's say you are using a desktop application or you are doing a remote, you are using a desktop as a service application or you are using a video broadcasting system. So those applications work best on UDP, not on TCP. So that time, based on my application, what kind of traffic it serves, is it TCP or UTP? I would select it. Web traffic is TCP, HTTP traffic is TCP. That's what I have selected it, right? So what I have done so far, I have selected that I want to have my endpoint group, which are 3 location, but I selected the region. Next thing I have to select who would respond when the request comes in. Is it going to be a specific EC2 instance or is it going to be a load balancer? So in that group, US East 1, who is actually responding to me, that is what I'm selecting here. And see this, these are the 4 type of backend which can be served by Global Accelerator. It could be application load balancer, could be a network load balancer, could be a EC2 instance, or could be a elastic IP address. Right now, I'm utilizing a EC2 instance, so I would just select that EC2 instance. Right now, I may have multiple EC2 instances. I could have selected any one of them or even multiple of them if required. And right now I'm saying endpoint, which is NV Web, North Virginia Web, you would be getting 128 weight. I'll explain weight also. So I have configured its weight. So that is my endpoint into US East 1. Another endpoint I am adding, this one is a EC2 instance, which is all, sorry, this one has been added. Let's go to this one. I am adding here again a EC2 instance as an endpoint, and this one, sorry, come on, come on. Yeah, here I would be adding an endpoint, and that endpoint is going to be my Ireland web server 128 done, and then I have another one here which I am utilizing, which is my another endpoint in AP South 1, which is again a EC2 instance, and that is my Mumbai web instance, which I am utilizing. So hopefully everyone is clear. I have an endpoint group in US East 1, another one in EU West 1, another one in AP South 1, and these are individual EC2 instances. Can GA use serve HTTP request and can GA work without edge services? Why you would do that, Avinash? I'm not clear about your question. See, if you are not serving HTTP traffic, then what kind of traffic it is? If it is UDP, yes, we can support it. But edge location, no, it won't work without edge location. It has to use edge location. Then only we could deliver services to a user faster. Otherwise, we won't be able to deliver services faster, right? So the use of edge location would always be required in that case. Okay, let me quickly check. Endpoint group is EC2 instance into Northern Virginia, another one in EU West 1, Ireland done, another one AP South 1, Mumbai Web done, and now I am create accelerator. What happens now behind the scene? The global accelerator is getting created for me. It is a distributed service, so it may take little time because it is leveraging multiple edge location, and now I am getting a load global accelerator created. See this? This is the name I have given, standard type, and if you see, these are the two IP addresses given to me. There is one name given to us, A1C something globalaccelerator.com, and it is backed by two IP addresses. And these two IPs are coming from two different stacks, and that is the benefit here, that you won't have any problem at all even if one of them fails, because the second one is coming from a purely different networking stack. So that's how we are able to deliver a highly available service. We would see a demo in a minute. Let it be ready because it takes little time. So what is happening here, that my global accelerator is getting ready, and it would also have a health check performed. You could see it is in progress. Currently it has a listener. It has three unhealthy endpoint because it is still going through the health check, and we will see some minute what it would work and how it would work. SGA can perform health check over HTTPS endpoint. Does it have an integration with ACM? See, Robbie question is that ACM doesn't work here in Global Accelerator. ACM distributes certificate to your CloudFront, to your load balancer. So you would integrate ACM with your load balancer, not with Global Accelerator. This is just an IP address, right? Now, you may forward request on HTTPS or HTTP. Your endpoint should have that certificate. So ACM would integrate with your load balancer. It has nothing to do with your application global load balancer here. So where is no DB is involved, which DB? I'm not understanding your question, Revati. What kind of database you are looking for here? Not sure which DB is there, right? So hopefully this thing is working. What we are seeing here, that my global accelerator is working. It is into the progress state, and in some time it should be ready, right? So let me explain what is happening behind the scene, what was the component associated, and what we have done. I will go back to PowerPoint so that you could see in the detail what we have actually achieved so far and what we are trying to do here. So traffic distribution, I am selecting two region here for simplicity, US East 1 and AP South 1. I have my endpoint. Now, my endpoint in one region could be load balancer, and my endpoint in another region could be instances. And if you see this thing, I may have multiple endpoint in the same region, no problem at all on that. And then what I did, I then deployed a global accelerator that has given me two IP addresses, IP1 and IP2. I am listening on port number 80. That is what listener I have created. And this is receiving traffic from my user into a TCP and UDP. And then it could forward my request to region US East 1 or AP South 1, depending on how I want to forward the traffic. Now, benefit here is you may say, hey, I am going to do some maintenance in US East 1 and I am going to shut down US East 1 completely. But I could come to Global Accelerator and say, Global Accelerator, I want you to send 0% traffic to region A because I am performing some maintenance here. So you don't have to remove anything. Just come to the traffic dial setting of Global Accelerator and say, you are 0% serving traffic right now. So all the traffic would automatically be forwarded to another region. Once your maintenance finishes, come back and set value again to 100%, and then you would be able to get that traffic back. So what you could do, there is a traffic dial value. If you remember in the screen I have shown you, that would give you the traffic being distributed to these individual location. So currently any traffic in US East 1 is 100% served by US East 1, and same for AP South 1. You could have changed this traffic dial to a different value, and then we may not be serving traffic from there and will be serving traffic from another location. So that is completely plausible. No problem at all on that, right? Second is, what if I want my endpoint one to serve 50% traffic and another endpoint in the same region serve 50% traffic. So that is also possible. Or you could say, hey, my first endpoint here, instance one is a smaller instance. It should only serve 25% traffic, and instance two, which is bigger instance, should serve 75% traffic. So you could go ahead and utilize a wait option on that. How does it work between multiple endpoint in the same region in the same weight? Same weight is a round robin, Naveen. So when you are saying same reason, same weight on that value 128, 128, 50% distribution is happening like I'm showing it here. But if you say weight 64 and weight 192, then 25 and 75% traffic is being distributed on that case. So you decide what is your use case. Do you want to serve one instance everything, or you want multiple instances to serve your traffic? It is purely up to you how you want to design your service, right? Good. So hopefully this thing is clear. And let's go back to our web page. Probably by this time, Global Accelerator would be ready. Still going through. Let's see if health check is there. See this? From three, it has come to one unhealthy instances. So it is running, and in a minute or so, we should be seeing some option available. But let's see if we have made a mistake in the health check configuration itself and find out which one of these are unhealthy. We will discuss that and try to fix that first. What is unhealthy endpoint, and then we will see that how we actually access it. See this, everything is fine now. All my instances are healthy, no problem at all. So Route 53 will have two entries for IP address. If you use Route 53, then only it would have that entry, Raj. If you do not use Route 53, like I haven't configured anything in Route 53 as of now, what I'm doing, I am accessing it from a DNS name, or I could have addressed it from IP address. It is up to me. I am using the name which is given to me by Global Accelerator, and now I am going to open this into the browser, and let's see who responds to me. How I would know? If you know the web page I have hosted, see who respond to me. To me, the response was coming from EU West 1, right? So for you, what would be happening? Let me put this URL and check it into your browser, and let me know who responds to you, which instance from those three responds back to you. Copy paste this into your browser and let me know which instance responds to you. Why is the weight like not 50-50? Amit, that is a developer decision, whoever designed it. And 50-50 would confuse you with round robin and in Route 53. So that's why they have put a different number altogether, right? So check it into your browser who is responding to you, from which particular instance you are getting response from this URL. I am getting response from EU West 1. For you, it should be a different one. EU West 1A, Ronnie, somewhere you are into Europe somewhere probably. Rakesh, probably you are in India somewhere. AP South 1 is responding. You are getting from East 1, US East 1. So as you could see, same URL, depending on your location, it is able to identify where your request is coming from and then forward your request to those individual locations, as you can see here. So everyone is getting response from different location because they are based on different physical proximity. So see the benefit. We created a global network in 10-15 minutes, and that is responding all over the world. That's how your application is responding to you, and that should not be a problem, right? Now, you can also try, if you do not have a global audience to check, probably you have heard about a service called GeoPicker, and GeoPicker can also tell you about the different ways where your application would be responding. So let me put this URL into GeoPicker, and it would be displaying me the locations of different places from which the application could be responding. So it is a web service hosted here, which is not AWS, someone else is hosting it, and it pings your website from different location like Singapore, Brazil, Virginia, California, and then it says who is responding, and you would get to know, like if requests come from Virginia, it would be US East 1C responding. If a request is coming from Australia, probably it would be AP South 1 because it is nearby to that Australia region. So this is how you could display and create a global application, right? Now let's actually test it. What happens if there is didn't respond yet? So Deepa, probably you have to check something. What could be wrong if multiple people are getting responses? Then probably the application is running, and maybe something in your browser you may have to check or open into incognito, and you should have a response coming from it. Right now, just as a failure simulator, let's see what happens here. I am going to Ireland, or let's say go to Mumbai, and let's shut down that instance and see what happens to the user who were getting connected to Mumbai. Right. So we are simulating is basically a failure of an application. Now I am manually shutting it down. It could have happened because of a outage or something else. So it depends, but we are just simulating how a specific application may behave when there is a outage. Right. So when outage would happen, we would be able to access your we global accelerator will perform the health check, and that health check would be verifying and performing the requested http check, and if it fails it would call it unhealthy and will automatically redirect your users to a nearby instance or nearby location. So your user won't see any difference. They would just refresh their page and they would be again being served from whatever the healthy instance are. So I'm into Ireland as of now. Let me change this region and let's go to Mumbai, Asia Pacific, and we will intentionally shut it down like behaving a failure of an instance. Right. Good advice there for Envy. That is could be a HTTPS and HTTP difference. So yeah, that could be. Yeah, HTTP should be working. US East 1. So probably you are somewhere into a network or a VPN which is connecting in US East. That's why you are getting it. Yeah, it could not be available in all the regions, so it depends. Global Accelerator, see, I'm not sure if it is there or not, but yeah, not all region may have this service, so be aware. Now China region, if you are using, then probably you have to get lot of approval, and that may still be there, but depends, right? So that is what my application has done. Let me go to Mumbai region. Whatever my instance was running, I will intentionally shut it down. Okay. Then we will see if global accelerator detects it. If it detects, does it respond to me or not? So we would be seeing this information. So this is my Mumbai app. It was running healthy. Intentionally, I am shutting it down, or I could have terminated it. It is up to me. I am intentionally stopping it. And when I resume it again, it would be able to pick it up again and then should work fine. So health check would fail once this instance gets into stop state. It may take 10 seconds, 15 seconds to get refreshed into global accelerator. And then after 15, 20 seconds, if you refresh your page, it would then redirect you automatically to the nearby region from where the application was being served. Let's do one more thing. Let's go ahead and shut down everything in North Virginia too. And now we would see that most probably all of you would be redirected to EU West 1 region from where the application would be served to you. Right. So I'm starting again North Virginia region EC2 instances, and here we would be issuing a shutdown request to the EC2 machine which is running. Okay. Any questions, anyone? Any doubts? Any confusion so far? Anything which is not clear? So imagine this. Just sit back and imagine that what is happening on the behind the scene. If you were ever in networking, imagine you have to design a network which should respond within 10-15 seconds of millisecond latency all over the world. I would say it is the next to impossible in 10-15 minutes to design something like this. But with Global Accelerator, you would have no problem at all. I quickly shown you that you could just in 15 minutes and see even before I told you to check, there is already response coming from EU West 1B. And once this Northern Virginia instance shuts down, people into US will also be getting response into this. All right. Are we good on this? Any question? Question from Raj. Since GA works on network layer, is it protected by Shield to protect against various attacks? It is. See, Raj, Shield has two versions. Shield standard applies on all of the services which has public endpoint. Shield standard that by default comes. When you need Shield Advanced, you have to pay for it, and that would apply on the resources you protect from it. So Global Accelerator will be protected by Amazon itself, so you don't have to integrate Shield with that. right? So hopefully now my instances are unhealthy in both the location. Let's see if my global accelerator would pick up. Yes, it has picked up. Only healthy instance is running into EU West 1. So whoever from all over the world would access my application, they would all be coming here. The GA service looks similar to the service provided by Route 53. How it is? I don't understand. Route 53 just gives you IP address. It doesn't redirect your traffic. Shushan, Route 53 says what is the phone number of Ashish, and that is only is given to you. IP address of application. It doesn't redirect your network. You still leverage your network, which is coming from different ISPs. So understand the difference. Route 53 is just giving you the IP address. What path you take afterward, it would depend on your network configuration. Here, we are redirecting the path our packets are going to take. So they are different services. They are not at all similar services. So be aware that they are not similar services. Route 53 is a DNS resolver. This one is a network packet transfer service. So hopefully this should be clarifying the confusion you had. Anyone, everyone getting response? EU West 1A? Yeah, nothing impossible. It would remain EU West 1A because that is the only endpoint actually running right now. If endpoint in a region are down, then can we have auto scaling in another region? See, it is your decision, Naveen. Why not? You could put this behind a load balancer and then have auto scaling finding out health check of load balancer or maybe number of traffic coming in. And then obviously you could perform any other operation, maybe scaling your application should not be a problem. So it is purely your decision if you want to auto scale or why not. Yes, you could do that. The GA have built-in mechanism to perform health check. That's what we did, Pawan, isn't it? Health check, we do not know what application you are hosting. You have to perform health check on your application. You would know if it is a web server, should it respond on 80 or 443? If it is a TCP application, which port number it is responding. So GA can perform health check, but you have to tell what health check you want to perform, because it may be a database and checking it's a web page won't say whether it is healthy or not. So it would depend on your requirement, and then you would configure the health check. Whatever you configure, GA would be able to verify that for you. Okay, makes sense. Any more questions, any doubts, any confusions, anyone? Okay, so hopefully everyone has learned something new and understood what Global Accelerator is and how it works. So pretty easy service. You set up what you need, you set up configure different weight associated with that, and we would redirect your traffic, and then we would be able to move forward with that. All right. Any question, any last minute question before we call a short break, and then we will go for the behavioral track? Okay, try this. I will share the user data script if you want to. Don't keep Global Accelerator running for a long period. It has cost associated, so you would be able to access it, but there is a cost on that. Which service will give public DNS name endpoint to EC2 to other services? I don't understand. Which service will give public DNS name endpoint to EC2 or other service? Santosh, I don't understand your question. Maybe you have to select it. Hypothetically, if all edge location in region is down, will request go to another region? That's what we see, Avinash, isn't it? Now, whether it's edge location down, if your application is not reachable, then the health check will come in. So it doesn't matter whether it is one edge location down or all edge location, request will still be redirected to the nearby healthy instance, and that instance may be backed by a different edge location. It is up to you. Why weight 256 being split up? I would say that they decided that we want to use a different mechanism. See, people would get confused if they are using percentage in traffic dial and weight also. So they must just wanted to have different naming convention, not to confuse people. That is my understanding, but I haven't developed the service, so I am not sure what it could be. But probably because we don't want people to get confused between two percentage. So better is to have one as a percentage and another one as a static number. Right. So when would be the container demo? Probably some other time. I consumed all the time today on this. I was hoping this session to be 30 minutes, and that's why I am not going to talk about container, otherwise it would be too much. But don't worry, we will have container demo soon when we get time. Okay. All right, I'm stopping now. I'll address question later. have a break for 5 minutes and then we will get started. So then we will go for the session by Jamila and Prasad. So enjoy your 5 minute break and I'll speak to you soon. Thank you. Welcome back, everyone. I hope everyone is back. The user data request which has come up, don't worry, I'll share user data. I'll put it into a bucket and then send you all the link in the LinkedIn group. So you could pick the user data from there. Shouldn't be a problem at all. Now, let me invite Jamila and Prasad to help us with the next topic. So, welcome, Jamila. Welcome, Prasad. Let me add you to stream and we will then get started from there. Prasad, looks like you have stolen my photo, isn't it? Yeah, maybe you're using the BeSA login and that's why it is coming up. So, yeah, I'll let you both talk and thanks for being here. And I'll be on mute. Yeah, let me know if you need me for anything. Thank you.
Thank you, Ashish. Cool.
Cool. So, everyone, how are you all doing?
How was the
Let us.
session? Yeah. How was the session, everyone? Because, well, we know Ashish is our technical guru, but how did you find the session? How were you feeling?
I knew about Global Accelerator, but not in this depth. Like, and I always used to think, Global Accelerator can be covered by in 15 minutes or 20 minutes max. Like, yeah, it's like 1 hour into it, and Ashish is like, okay, we need to stop now. I'm like, wow, I never knew. Uh,
Exactly. Exactly my thoughts. I never would have thought that you can take an hour. And to be honest, if we let Ashish present, he would have taken probably 2 hours. Due diligence, he just stopped at, hey, Jamil and Prasad is waiting there. I see great feedback in the comments that Ashish rocks as always. Totally
yeah,
agree. Great session, 10 out of 10. Hi Prasad and Jamila, it was great. It was a great session, amazing. Hi. Ashish speaks like lightning, but awesome. Absolutely agree. Ashish is the best. I agree. Makes it very simple. I agree with that too, because I can understand also some of the complex technical explanation when someone explains it in a simple and a logical manner like Ashish does. So I think
yeah.
it's a very rare talent that we are lucky to have in our team.
And while you're, sharing your thoughts, also share us your thoughts on why we should be asking questions in interviews. Why is it important for you to prepare answer questions
Mhm.
to ask the interviewers?
Absolutely. And also, I would also say, what was your experience when you asked questions, and how do you feel that it's the right moment to ask question, or it's the right question to ask your interviewer? Please feel free to share your thoughts in the comment, and I will read it out loud. And based on your answers, we will craft um, our session, probably, right, Prasad? Because we haven't scripted anything, so it will be pretty organic in the process.
Asking question clears any doubts and makes it easy to comprehend what interviewer is looking for. Yep. Yeah. So in case if there is a technical question, any architectural question, or even if it's a behavioral scenario based question, it is better to ask that clarifying questions,
Mhm.
or state the assumptions that you are taking, right? In case if you're taking any assumptions, if it's a technical question, then it's better to state it, or ask, you know the clarifying question that this is what you are thinking. It will give more clarity about our roles and responsibilities. Yes, that's absolutely true. This is a great point to understand the expectations from both sides, right? uh, yeah, and this is what I'm sure Jamila would be having thoughts to share on this. Jamila, do you want to share on this, and then I can add my thoughts if required? But I know. Uh, Go ahead.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's such a great point. Someone mentioned that to have clear expectation from both sides, because it is really important to understand what you will be doing in the new role, in the new team, in the new company, and also for the hiring manager, for the hiring team as well, to know that where your particular skill set will be applicable. So it is crucially important to communicate even during the interview, like what you're looking for. And it may be, you will be probably surprised that it may be completely different from the advertised role or advertised description. So it is definitely important to check during the interview to set the right expectations.
Yeah, and great point, Deepa. It's not only the interviewer interviewing us, but also we need to interview them to see if it is the right company for us.
Yes, that's amazing point. Another amazing point, and we will dive deep into every single detail of that comment and details. We will be discussing with Prasad. Um, what are exactly those questions that you need to be asking during your interview, and um, why you should be asking it. Besides that, it's the right company, right team. There are also some other aspects that you need to consider um, while joining the new team and the new company. We will cover it all.
I think we can get started.
Let's go.
Yeah. So exactly, like the way I see it is that it's a two-way street always, right?
Mhm,
And the whole interview process should be an interaction. And most probably interviewer will, be expecting you to ask questions. You know, it's yes, you will be having at the end 5, 10, 15 minutes, and you should be preparing questions for that.
mhm,
And we'll give some, we'll talk about few examples of what questions we should be asking and how we should be structuring that. But even during the interview, it's important that you keep conversing, you keep thinking loud, you keep asking question, so that you know learn and be curious is what we need to show, right? So Jamila, like let's say if you had a great session with your interviewer. First, let's say it's an hour interview. For 45 minutes the interviewer kept asking questions to you and you kept responding, right? And
mhm.
now the interviewer says to you, a floor is yours, please feel free to ask any questions. So what does it exactly?
Are you sure? Are you really sure you want to give me that floor to bomb you with my questions?
Yes, go ahead.
Yeah. So, first of all, I would definitely thank the interviewer to giving me the floor because, and I will of course set the scene beforehand that I will ask questions, and hopefully it is 15 minutes, not just the last 2 3 minutes. Hopefully, and then it depends also who is interviewing you, right? But I will start with the hiring manager probably. Like if hiring manager is interviewing me, if it's the first stage or the last stage, whatever it is, and if they're asking me, hey, do you have any questions? I will definitely first and foremost ask, like, what is the team culture? Like, if we go like general questions, of course, I will start asking about team culture, and how many people he or she um, has in the team. What is the team's long-term goal? Like they're growing, and what is the workload the hiring manager is allocating, and what is the like superstars in the team, and why the hiring manager is thinking that that person is superstar, and or not superstar. Like basically I would try to understand the hiring manager's view and opinion on how he or she decides like this is a good performer and this is not very good, and in the meantime to understand what the manager is doing to support the team and employee. But again, it will all depend if I feel that it is the right moment, and if I already established a connection with the hiring manager during the interview process. Like, when you answer the questions, you already sense from the gestures, from the questions, how he or she is responding. And if I feel that okay, whatever I say, that person is just it doesn't stick, right? Like you see that that person doesn't react, doesn't smile, and you're like, okay, good. Then do you have any questions? Yeah, how are you like planning in the long term, in the next 5 years about your team? Just for the sake of question, goodbye. I hope I will never see you again. I had that case as well. So I was just like, I know I need to ask questions, right? Because not to seem not interested at all, but I wasn't interested because I saw that it doesn't stick during the interview. And it's absolutely fine, right? It's not just them interviewing me. I need to feel that connection with the, especially hiring manager, right? This is the person to whom you will be reporting and working for. Um, and then if you during the interview you feel that okay, you have the connection, you already established some kind of relationship within this like even short period of time, 45 minutes, then you can feel that you it's the right time to ask some like team related questions. For example, you can ask, what is the toughest feedback you shared with your current team, and what is your feedback sharing mechanisms? Like how are you supporting your team or your direct reports during the performance review? How is the performance review look like in your organization, in your company? Because every company has their own performance review. Some big companies are reviewing every quarter, some companies are reviewing yearly. So you don't know, like once you are moving to the new team, you don't know how it looks like over there. So so if this is something is important for you, for your personal growth, I think you should be asking that question to the hiring manager to understand how it looks like over there. The next probably question is important for me because it aligns with my values, with my understanding of working in the team, is how the hiring manager or the manager to whom I will be working for is supporting diversity and inclusion initiatives in the team, in the organization, what he or she is currently doing, and to promote the initiative, or how he or she is supporting the team with diverse backgrounds, or even the fact that do you have a team with diverse backgrounds, or are they all kind of the same, coming with the same background, same gender, same race? Like how does it look like, right? I wouldn't just move just because it has a fancy brand like the company, or I don't know, this manager looks very active on social media, on Twitter or whatever, and let me just move because it's cool. I wouldn't make that. I don't know, maybe I would have done it a couple of years ago because it's cool, because I'm young, I don't know, like I don't think all these details, but it is crucially important to understand if especially you feel that you are not a typical person, meaning that you have a diverse background, you have a diverse gender, I don't know, race, like you have diverse way of thinking about the specific problem, then you should definitely ask your manager how he or she takes the initiatives to encourage people to speak up. Is it even a culture in the team, or who is making the main decision? How is the team operating? And of course, like when I joined AWS, I joined a lot of all these webinars and things, and then when I joined the team, my hiring manager was one of the panelists in one of those webinars. So I knew that she is the one who is promoting actively like diversity inclusion initiatives in AWS to external candidates. She was sharing her experience coming from non-tech background to technology, and like I was very pleased to see that person. And then she became my like the hiring manager, then she hired me, and then there were other people as well, and I was like asking some of these questions as well because it is important, it aligns with me. If the person or hiring manager doesn't think or doesn't, how to say, finds your question about diversity and inclusion weird, then I don't think your values will match with the teams or with managers values. So I don't think it will be a good match, and I don't think it will be beneficial to both of you. So it's good to set the scene beforehand that this is my value, this is what I understand, but this is what I really appreciate in the team. And um, once the person replies, the hiring manager replies that yes, in the last quarter or in the last year, we have done these kinds of events. This is my team consists of this and these people. They have all diverse backgrounds. This is what we are doing. This is what we are still working on. So because we are not perfect, right? And we are not just hiring for the sake of hiring, but at least you in an ideal scenario, you would want to hear the initiative, the passion that person is kind of sending you, that yes, we are aware about it, we are working on it, this is what we have done, this is what we're planning to do. Thank you, Prasad. Otherwise I will speak all day and every day. Thank you. Let's
No,
have
it's
a
a very relevant question on to
okay.
what you are speaking.
All right. If you get a sense that the concern manager is not someone you would like to work with, should you consider the fact that you don't necessarily need to work under him or her? And I love that that person is very inclusive, saying him or her for a very long time, and you can move to other teams in the future. Yes, but you can move, of course. You can, if you get it again, you need to first understand if it's a big company, you need to ask your connections, hey, how easy it is to move within the company, because some companies it's hell out of difficult, like it's nearly impossible to move within the company because all the bureaucracy, all the paperwork, etc., etc. So you need to kind of make sure that even if you don't like, okay, even if your values, I'm still learning how to politically in a correct way to to structure my ideas, okay, even if you don't think that your values match with the managers or with the person who is hiring you values, it's absolutely fine, but you need to make sure that it is easy to move in to other teams in the future, because if it's not easy, then you will join, and then some horrible things will happen because you don't like the person will feel that you don't like that, like your relationship will be very sticky, and you will end up probably just leaving the whole company, which probably you wouldn't want to do it in a normal use case.
So
um
in a short period of time, you would like to, like you would not like to leave the company. So see, like as Jamila
mhm,
said, it's not just about the person, it's
mhm,
also about the company. So every company has their own core values, have their own set of ethos. So research about that while you're like interviewing a company. And if you feel that your uh, personal values matches with the company values, go ahead. And in that scenario, in case if the interviewer, you get a vibe from the interviewer that it is not matching, then best way is to speak with other employees of the company.
mhm,
Get to know that how easy or difficult it is to switch teams, right?
mhm. Absolutely.
So, and this is where
And
your
also,
networking helps. LinkedIn helps.
absolutely, absolutely. And also, like even if you didn't get the vibe that you would ideally want to get from the hiring manager from a big company, for example, it's not the only manager who is hiring, right? And there will be like tons of other positions, and then you can even ask, like your networks again, working for that company, that hey, can I don't think I will be a perfect match for this like team or anything, can the interview process or your recruiter even to move you maybe to interview with the other team, it is possible. And we also had, I think, some people joining and changing the teams within 3 months. In some teams there is like not the restriction, but you need to be in the team at least a year, and in some job families, so it's not applicable for all job families, for all the people in the big company. So you need to definitely know what is the job family you are applying, what is the company you are applying for, and as Prasad said, networking is crucial.
Yeah. Now, if we look it from some other angle also, this is like, yes, you should be very conscious about which company you are joining. But let's say if you have made that decision and you got to know that this is the company that you would like to join, and you had this first interview call with hiring manager, and the interview went well, and you asked those questions, and you got to, like you got impressed, and you are like, "No, okay, this is the company that I want to join now," after clarifying these questions. it's not just one interview. Now you'll be having, let's say, another 4 or 5 rounds. How to, like, prepare questions for further rounds, right?
Mhm,
So most probably what happens is that your first interview would be happening with someone in the team or your hiring manager.
mhm,
Ensure that you get those clarifying questions, right? Now I'm reading few comments, right? For
mhm,
example, this question, uh, AWS has many services. Being a
mhm,
solutions architect, do I have to focus on any specific set of services? Now, this is a kind of question that you should be asking in your first or second interview max. You cannot ask this question in one of your last round, because
mhm,
that would mean that you are not aware of the role and you reach this far, right? So
mhm,
whether you are a specialist solutions architect or a generalist solutions architect, ask these questions at the very front end. These are the
mhm,
questions that you should ideally be knowing while reading the job description before even getting into the interview.
mhm,
But sometimes it happens that the job description doesn't match. Then it is fine. You can ideally try and ask the recruiter what kind
mhm,
of role I'm getting into, and recruiter would be explaining them. If not the first interview, do not wait till fifth interview or a fourth interview to ask this question. It happened with me. I was, like, couple of years into the industry long back. I was, like, interviewing for overseas company when I was in India, and I asked this kind of question about, what my roles and responsibilities would be in my third interview. And the interviewer was kind enough that, Prasad, you should not be asking this question at this stage. And that's when I realized, yes, he's so right. And he explained me the reason. I did not get selected. I was rejected in that interview. But I know
Yeah.
the reason
Right
what
in that
happened.
moment. Right in that moment, you were rejected, Prasad. Well done.
But that has helped me. Like, now when I see that, uh, when I interviewed Amazon, like, I have prepared. I'll give you few examples of what questions I prepared, and what questions I asked at every stage of the interview. And all these experiences, that or failure experiences, helped me to understand that why it is important to prepare the questions beforehand, and get into the interview. I remember I was interviewing once with another big, like, consultancy company here in uh, India. The tech interview went super duper awesome, super duper awesome. The second interview, they, like, was with the, I think, the HR manager or something, right? And I made a mistake of asking very stupid question. I'll not even repeat that. Like, I'll not even tell and embarrass myself now. And that axed me, literally axed me. So these experiences helped me to understand, what kind of questions we should be asking. There was another question which was, yeah, for example, this questions: what are the qualities that will make a candidate successful in this role? Again, a good question, but in the initial stages.
Mhm,
Initial stages, and there
absolutely.
was another question. Ta-da.
You also mentioned, Prasad, that you will be interviewing your interviewers will be different people across the different stages, right? It's not just hiring manager and the team you will be working on, also
Yes.
other people, right? And someone in the chat asked, what are the approximately like questions we need to ask. So one of the questions that I'm getting asked, like when I meet just random people, like friends or like someone that I'm meeting literally the first time, we start talking and that person is asking, what is your good and bad day looks like at work? And I truly start thinking, oh, like it's easy to say how is my good day looks like, because that's what you do most of the time, that's what you're trying to craft your day around to be good, so you kind of avoid all the stress, all the unnecessary things that you don't need to do. But how my bad day looks like, right? And when you start describing your bad day, you start realizing that, oh my goodness, yeah, it is really like bad for me, and I don't feel happy when I'm doing it. And then you start thinking about the potential steps that you need to improve. And I think it's one of the good questions to ask the interviewer, not necessarily hiring manager, but just regular person, like how is your bad day looking, at work?
Mm,
Like what do you do to eliminate it? Like recently I asked someone, what is your that day, and like how, what do you find challenging in your current role, in your current team? And based on the answer, I already understood where is the gap, where is the something in the team is missing, and is it something that I can bring value. can I take that heavy lifting from that person? If I can, then great, right? Then they will be appreciative that, hey, I was struggling with these things. I was covering all the things that I shouldn't be covering because I'm a manager or because I'm this person. But if you can bring and come and your skills will be applicable there, then great. You kind of solved the problem, you established a good relationship, and you created the healthy environment, and you contributed to someone's life who was describing as a bad day, but now it's not that bad anymore.
Yeah, yeah. So, like, for the example, the question that I've highlighted, uh, what is a day like in a life of a, whatever role you're applying for?
Mhm,
Eh, So you want to ask this question, but in a creative way, the way Jamila said, just not about ask about what is a day in a life, ask about what are
mhm,
the good or bad days. I'll give you an example of what I was asked when I was interviewing recently, and it got me thinking. As an interviewer, it
mhm,
I like when people ask a question that challenges me, that to
mhm,
think about it, right? And the question was, uh, what is it in a day that you do that are you excited about and you look forward to do that,
mhm,
and what are the tasks in a day that you do that you are like, man, I need to do this just for the sake of completing it. And yeah, obviously every role has those things,
mhm,
and when I answer it, the person will be able to understand, and the person will be able to make a informed decision. So you
mhm,
need to be in a position that you try and extract the answers from the interviewers, where you are able to make a informed decisions that whether or not you would like to take up this role, right?
mhm.
Cool. Let's see more if you have any
Someone
more. Yeah,
Someone
go ahead.
also said, what challenges do a person face in this role at initial days after joining? I would frame this also. It's a great question. I have nothing against it. But also, I would frame it and I would ask, do you have any structural onboarding plan for a person who will just join? Right? I didn't ask this question when I was interviewing with AWS because I was all over the place because I'm interviewing with AWS. I mean, this is a dream company for me, dream job for me, right? I didn't give a damn about all these details, right? But now I'm grown up. Like I would definitely ask because in AWS, like at least with SA role, we do have a structural onboarding plan for 3 months, which is awesome. Like this is the best thing I've ever seen, probably in across the other industries, across other roles, where you have literally a plan set by your manager and you discuss with your manager within 3 months what you will be doing, your deliverables, your communication across different organizations, across different teams, which is, I find it really awesome. Like this is just amazing. And with other teams or like other job roles or other companies, they may not have it. Like in my previous roles, we didn't have it. Like onboarding plan, seriously, you just come and you take some training, some courses online, done. Like after 2 3 weeks you're good to go. Like in AWS it's more like structured. You have 3 months, which is also important. Like um, you're coming to work, and even if you don't have any background, do you really think that these 3 months will be enough? And what is the support like mechanism you have in place? So in that sense, this is also like good
One
question
of the
to ask
question.
and frame, yeah,
Yeah.
during the interview.
And other thing, apart from just asking about the company and the role, also ask about individual person
Yeah.
experience a bit, right? So for example, okay, in AWS, we know that we have this loop, right? And before loop, I had already given two interviews, one, like technical phone screen and one behavioral phone screen, and I got to know everything about it. During those interviews, I asked all the questions about, what my role would be, what the team structure looks like, or how I can add value, all these generic basic questions. And that's when I realized, like, I cannot go into loop asking the same questions to five different people. That will be a red
Mhm,
flag again. And good part is that these days almost every company shares the interviewers names, or their LinkedIn profiles, so you can
mhm,
go through their profile, you can understand what their experience is, and then you can tailor your questions to ask that particular person. For example, one of the interviewer of mine did a startup for almost, I think, more than 6 7 years, and then joined AWS, right? So one of the question that I asked that person is that, how does it, how is the culture shift of, working for your own, company, and now getting into AWS and working in a large organization? you know the answer that was given was great. It was like, the autonomy that we get at AWS to work, it almost feels like, you are running your own show. And it's kind of true also, like, every team is a startup in itself at AWS. But asking this question helped me to make that connection with the person, and person was able to understand that I did my research, not only just about the company but also about the person. I was interested in knowing about the person also. There was another interviewer who has actually worked with multiple large organizations before joining AWS. I asked the question to that person, that what is one thing that was working in your previous organization which you would like to implement here at AWS? That's what is something that, what the other organization was doing better than what AWS is doing now, that you would like to get implemented here. Because he was a leader, he was, like a leader of one of the organization, right? So going through the LinkedIn profile, you'll be able to understand at what level, whether a particular person is an individual contributor. Like, I was interviewing for a solutions architect role, which is an individual contributor role, and your interviewers will be all across the board. They will be leader of some organization, they would be individual contributors, they would be individual contributors but from the business functionality. And AWS is very peculiar company, like, uh, we have something called bar raiser, and the bar raiser can be from Amazon retail, or Amazon Prime Video, or Audible, or Kindle, right? So totally different from AWS. So you need to go, understand, like, what the person profile is, and if you can structure your questions accordingly, then
Mhm.
that will be great. Now, I cannot ask the person who is from, let's say, Prime Video, that how a day in a life would look like at AWS. That person would not know, right? And
Absolutely.
so yeah, that's one tip that I would always say, like, go through the LinkedIn profiles and avoid the mistakes that I did about asking the same generic question every time in all the interviews. You will be, like, I was exed. So yeah, don't do that.
Yeah, and also, Prasad, just to add to your point, um, I did the same like during my loop, right? As you said, I knew the people, and one of these people I was following quite a long time, and I was always looking up to her. And she was and she's still very active on Twitter, on LinkedIn, and she was on my interview. And I was like blown away, like, oh my god, like some famous person is interviewing me, right? And I knew all the bits and parts about her past, where did she work, did she do, and then knowing that information, I asked like targeted question about her career path, what did she do, and what is she doing right now that she finds it more enjoyable or better, or where some things can be improved. And me as a woman, and that person was a woman as well, I felt some kind of connection. And then other interviewers asking, do you what are the oh yeah, someone asked me, what are the kind of influencers or tech influencers you are following, and I literally told her name, like literally, like before this interview that person was interviewing me, I'm looking at her like she's a top influencer and I'm following her. And the interviewer, senior manager, she was kind of smiling. And then I got to know that apparently that influencer in her org, like literally. And I was like, and we were then started to work in that org, and then we were like in different teams. But I found it really kind of the connection sticks, like even if you don't know the people but you follow them and you kind of feel some kind of connection, it might at some point somewhere right there through someone, somehow it could kind of work out. And because kind of you know them, not like perfectly well, but at least their background, what they're sharing, and the questions that you asked were targeted. I think, yeah, this is also important for
Yeah,
interviewer and for you as well.
and I am going to highlight one question which I believe is quite important. What type of questions we should avoid at all? You mean asking, right? What questions we should not be asking?
Mm-hmm.
From my experience, what we should not be asking. One thing that I always said, like, do not ask the plain boring questions, at least in the further stages of the interview, about the role and something that you should be knowing it before even applying. Especially if you're a senior person, right?
Mm-hmm.
If you're a fresher, it doesn't matter. But even if you have 3 or 4 years experience, you should be having that level of kind of
Mm-hmm.
expectations. You should be that level of mature, right? So But yeah, what type of questions you should be avoiding? One thing is that how did I do in my interview? At the end of the interview, do not ask that.
Yeah.
I have had people asking me that question. Man, the answer would be, I'm telling you, if you ask that question, the answer would be HR will get back to you. Even if you did great. First of all, if you're doing great, you don't need to ask that question.
Mhm,
If you're asking that question, that means that you feel that you did not do great. Never
mhm,
show that nervousness. Don't do that. Some people get smart and they ask is, based on the interview that we had, what do you think the gaps are for me to succeed in this role? I understand that you're asking your feedback. Don't do that. In whichever way you will put it, we will be able to understand that. Don't do that.
mhm,
Have patience. I understand it is, we understand, interviews understand it
mhm,
is important, that
mhm,
we need to get the feedback. uh, but do not show that eagerness during the interview, always
mhm,
end it on a note that great chat, I really love chatting with, and I look forward to hear from you guys. That's it,
mhm.
something like that. But do not ask this question about getting the feedback instantly. That's my experience, if anyone has any other experience, please feel free to write on the chats, or Jamila, in case if you have any such
Mhm.
red flag question, then please feel to highlight.
I don't have like a specific red flag question, but I would be a little bit out of my space if someone asks, I don't know, like if this question asked by a woman, I would be happy to say. But like for example, if a man asks me, how do you feel being a woman in tech? I would be damn uncomfortable. Like if again, if woman, especially young woman, is asking me, hey, how are you finding being a woman in tech? Like what are the support mechanisms do you have like within the company? I understand, totally get it, right? If matured man is asking me that question during the interview, like how do you feel being a woman, is like, okay, why are you asking me that question? Are you attacking? Like I would be really uncomfortable. I wouldn't say
Hmm.
it's a red flag, but I would push back and say, why are you asking that way? What is your motive? Why are you looking at me that I'm a woman interviewer? Like I would be really anxious about it.
Yeah,
I
so
wouldn't. If
if
you're a
a
man, please don't ask that question to a
yeah,
woman.
no, if there's a way to put it, in case if you're interested in
Yeah.
understanding that how the organization is supporting women,
Mhm.
then there's a way to put that question across and not
Mhm.
ask point blank, how do you feel? It's like, do you think that you are being supported enough in your organization? Is
Yes,
it,
I agree.
something like that, so
Absolutely.
then
Mhm. Absolutely. And
it
if
will be.
that person is really also supportive to women in his organization and he wants to bring that culture and be an ally, yes, as you said, Prasad, it will be great to formulate it in a better way. That what are the mechanism to support? Because I'm a big supporter. I have a daughter, for example, who's also teenage. I'm preparing her to be in tech, blah, blah, blah. Then yes, then probably yeah, formulate it in a better way, but not just like in a personal level. How are you feeling there? Would be really yeah
Yeah,
weird.
cool, cool. What else? Any other questions? Did we miss anything? I'm not sure if we missed anything there. It's not in the chat.
I don't know if we missed it or not, but I would also add a small kind of point about how about again circling back with the hiring manager and the manager that you will be working for and reporting to. What is the probably I would like I wouldn't be scared. Probably like if you asked me 2 years ago, I would be scared to ask that question because I wouldn't want to come across very bold and ambitious. But now I think in AWS I accepted the fact and I because I see people are encouraging me to be bold and ambitious. Just don't be afraid. Just say it. Like we love it, right? Just take ownership. Just go ahead and just break things along the way. I love it. And just to ask a question, how are you supporting your direct reports or your team um, or people in your team in during the promotion cycle, or what does the promotion look like in your team? Have you promoted some people? How are you communicating gaps and working together with your team on fulfilling these gaps? What is your strategy? What is the company strategy or mechanisms? Because in each company it looks completely different, and even within the big company, in each organizations, in each teams, even it is different, might be different, especially across the job families. So if you are, I don't know, if you are at the stage of your young, I don't want to say early in your career, but relatively early in your career, and you're joining the company and you really want to get promoted within the company and just have your contribution listened and known across the org, across the teams, then I think it is a good sign to ask during the interview your manager, especially like if you've gone already through all the stages, and if it's the last stage and you feel that, okay, I think I like them all, right? And you think that, okay, this is the company, this is the team, I would really want to work, then you start kind of to think about next step, right? How the promotion looks like, and this will also signal the manager that, hey, this person is like, I was totally out of my place. Like when I joined AWS, I first asked my mentor that, can I ask my manager about the promotion process, because I'm worried that my manager will take it differently. And then she said, no, in AWS we really love to see this ambition, because if the person really sets the mindset to get promoted, then that person will go above and beyond, because it's not an easy process. And your manager will be happy to see that you have the right mindset and you will work hard, and your manager is the one who will provide the opportunities, who will help you to fill the gaps and make you grow and succeed within this role or within the other roles that your manager might see your fit in better, like other teams or other organizations or other job families. So it is, once you kind of have the mindset, don't be afraid. Like, don't be like me when I was 2 years ago, afraid to ask, like, is it okay, because I'm ambitious, but I'm afraid to say it, I'm ambitious, right? And but in AWS, people, most of the people, I don't want to say all of them, but most of the people, they do love to see ambitious women, but also ambitious men as well. But if you're a woman, so don't be afraid, feel free to ask during the interview. That's what I would do definitely if I'm moving or doing anything. I would definitely ask, like, at the last stage, how does the promotion look like? What do you do as a manager to support? Have you promoted anyone in your team or in your career? What have you done? What was the toughest feedback you gave? What would you do differently? What have you learned? What is the promotion process in the work? Like, all these questions are valid, important, and it will signal the manager about you as a person. Again, if the manager thinks that, goodness, we didn't even hire you, you already ask about promotion, then if the manager thinks that way, then we are not fit right here, right? There is no point for me to join and then get to know that person is having a different mentality. Then great, right? Not a good match mm, for both sides. But if the manager, other way around, like encourages and loves this passion and ambition and curiosity and everything, then great, right? And someone said, that's what I'm afraid of. Great. Like, again, you need to find the company, people, and you need to have extended network to kind of ask around informally, like, hey, I'm interviewing for this and that. And there are also some apps, right? Some applications. You go and you ask some questions there as well. So don't be afraid. Just expand your network, ask some people around about the manager, about the team, about everything, because it's your career. If you don't take care of your career yourself, no one will.
Oh yeah, you own your growth. And this is something that I've seen it in across every organization, in every any organization that I have worked with. You own your own growth. It's not your manager's responsibility
Yeah,
to your growth. We as, like, uh, individual contributors, we feel that it's manager who is, like, responsible for our growth. No, it is never the case. You are responsible for your own growth. So take that initiative. There is
absolutely.
another question which is not very related to
Mhm.
asking questions in the interview, but something that is there on almost every person mind.
Mhm.
How long should we wait before we go back to HR and asking for the feedback, right? So see, generally, after years of experience, what I have, and many failed interviews, right? What I realized is that if you pass the interview, HR will get back to you on its own. If HR is not getting back to you, means you have fooled the interview, right? So now this is what I do now, with my experience. As soon as I finish my interview, within a day or two, I do send a follow-up email just for, thank you for the opportunity,
Mhm,
and something like that, not being shown as very eagerness to please let me know the feedback and something like that. No,
mhm,
I simply send a, like a standard follow-up email. It was great chatting with you, it was great interviewing, and the whole experience was whatever the feedback I have for their interview process, whether it is smooth or these are things, just let them know, and that's it, and I forget about it completely. you know if they come back, it's mostly good news.
mhm,
Some companies are good. I remember one of the consultant, I he reached out to me saying that, Prasad, you did not get through because of this and this reason. If that hasn't, it's even better because I know the exact feedback why it is. And if they do not come back, good enough, you did not find me good, that's okay, completely fine. I'll take that as a learning experience. you know
absolutely.
uh, there is no so there are times in my career where I have chased HR people like 3 times 4 times and I've not heard back, and it only hurted me, no one else. It yeah. So don't do that, don't be in that situation. I know, there are times in career or in life when you are very eager to get a job, to
Mhm,
switch jobs and something like that, and that makes you like chase HR people.
mhm,
It doesn't help. At least in my experience, it doesn't help. I've heard the industry has changed and people have started sharing feedback a lot, based on, the conversation that keep hearing on LinkedIn, but it's still not the case, I believe. Very prevalent. So be brutally honest to yourself that you did not get selected, move on.
as long as you have plan B, plan C, plan D, plan E, always have other plans, other options. I know it's difficult sometimes. You just want to get a job, specific job at a specific company because you love it, or because I don't know it's a good brand, or maybe you know some people who are working there. And if it doesn't happen, I know it's difficult to kind of unstuck yourself from that idea to move on, but it's for your own growth. You may not understand it right now, but after like 6 months or a year, you will look back and think, man, that was a great decision. Like to not to get a job back in that time at that place, with that job, although I didn't know in that time. So now I'm in a better place. And if you have the right mindset, I'm sure within, like, even if that didn't work out in the next couple of months, you will have even a better opportunity for yourself. Even if it's not the better, you still can re-interview and come back to that company after cool down period, right? We have with
Yeah, yeah.
each
No, so
company.
yeah, so and it's a no, it's the right thing you said. Before interviewing with AWS, there was another company I was interviewing for, uh, and I did not get through it. Right? If I would have got through it, company, I would not have interviewed with AWS.
Yeah.
Right? So
Mhm.
it's a trade-off. So at that time, I was really dejected. Frankly, like, oh
Mhm.
man, shit, I missed an opportunity. It's such a good opportunity. I really did good till like almost the last round. What I have screwed up in the last round, I do not know. All those questions keeps coming to mind. But
Mhm.
after a couple of weeks, I started interviewing with AWS. So
Mhm.
yeah, it's going to happen eventually.
Absolutely, absolutely, and good
Okay.
luck. Good luck with the interview, whoever is having it. Yeah, I hope our session was helpful and useful, and hope you got the right energy to set your mindset in the right direction and work on it. And yeah, let us know with anything, like any feedback, any thoughts. If you have any questions, feel free to be active on our LinkedIn group. Feel free to reach out to us, although we might be quite busy sometimes, yeah, not to
Yes.
respond to every one of you, but we will do our best to accommodate your requests.
Thank you so much, Prasad and Jamila. I feel like I should start interviewing and ask questions to interviewers.
We don't want you to leave, Ash. We don't. Please don't leave.
No, I'm just kidding. I'm happy where I am. But yeah, it was interesting point, and thanks for enlightening us. So, as feel free to reach out. As Jamila said, we are
Mhm,
happy to help. We may not respond everyone. It's not because we don't want to. We have limitation. We run families. We have things to do. 24/7. Sometimes we are busy, but yeah, we are more than happy if we could not respond, buzz us again, and we would reach out. Just one more thing, like sometime it happens like you reached out to all of us, and all three or four of us are trying to help you out. So be little respectful, that let's not steal time for others. Like if you are reaching out to one, and if he doesn't respond, then it's okay to move to next person. But yeah, be little respectful for others time also, because if three of us are working with one, and then maybe other two people are getting lost out. So be little
Mhm.
respectful there, and reach out. Like we are happy to help, don't be shy. It's just saying a hi, and then we can jump on a call if we have time and if there is a pressing need. Obviously we can't solve your technical issues, like hey, my ec2 is not connecting. I may give you some suggestions, but yeah, I may not have time, or Prasad or Jamila may not have time to look into it. But yeah, any career specific thing, anything which you could not get your hand around, let us know. Let us know the feedback, share the word, let other people know about this program, and we would be then hopefully having a better community, and you will be helping yourself in this way, because you would also get exposure. People would know about that, hey, you are aligned to a career and you are looking for something, and that would expand your network also. So it's a win-win for everyone. Spread out the word, and let us know if we could help you in any ways. Thank you so much, and we'll see you next week. Have a good one,
See you
and
next week. Have a
enjoy
good
your
one,
day. Thank
everyone.
you.
Bye
Bye.
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 Bye all.